Hello, BookTube. Well, it's Monday morning, and that means the mail has started. I don't know what the mail will be like for the whole of the day, but we're starting off fairly well. So let's see what we have here and see if anything is squeal-worthy. So we've got a little pile of books here. What is this first one? I'm sorry. This was just tossed off to the side because my little Frida Bean has a treat down on the floor, and she's totally absorbed in it, so she's not paying attention to the mail. So those of you who are watching only to watch her go nuts on the packages, I don't know that she's going to do that this time around. So this is an advanced copy of something that doesn't come out until... this comes out on the day after Christmas. December 26th. Oh my, come on now. This is from the people at Atria Books. You don't think you could have done a little better than that? Well, let's see. This is a thriller. This is by Lisa Jewell. I wonder if I have the actual cover. No, not at all. Okay. The front of the ARC is just blurbs. This is Watching You by Lisa Jewell. So I don't have anything to show you except that is the cover art right there. Melville Heights is one of the nicest neighborhoods in Bristol, England, home to doctors and lawyers and old money academics. It's not the sort of place where people are brutally murdered in their own kitchens. That would be 1950s South Boston. And it's always the husband. But it is the sort of place where everyone has a secret and everyone is watching you. As the headmaster credited with turning around the local school, Tom Fitzwilliam is beloved by one and all, including Joey Mullen, his new neighbor, who quickly develops an intense infatuation with this thoroughly charming yet unavailable man. Joey thinks her crush is a secret, but Tom's teenage son Freddie, a prodigy with aspirations for becoming a spy, excels in observing people and has witnessed Joey behaving strangely around his father. Okay, so this is a thriller at the very, very end of the year. Not only is December the 26th not going to catch anybody while they're still in town, it's also not even going to catch me. It's not going to catch my year-end book list, my epic Steve Reed's year-end roundup of the best and worst books of the year. What if this is a contender for the thriller mystery category? It's going to have to wait until next year, because by then the list will be over. Okay, so let's try page 112, shall we? Those of you who are new to the channel, that's 200 people. There are 200 new people to the channel. The page 112 test was originally made by a French literary prize and was adapted to BookTube by Sean the Bookmaniac, who I assume you're all subscribed to. You should be. Where you flip to page 112 of a book and analyze what you get from that page. See what it tells you about the book as a whole. See whether or not you like what you read. Let's see here. Joey thought she would be safe down in the village in the middle of the day. She thought Tom Fitzwilliam would be at school. But there he was, striding toward her desk in a dark suit and leather shoes, his bag slung diagonally across his chest. If she moved now, he wouldn't see her, but she couldn't move. She felt the blood rush from her heart to her neck and then to her face, and for a moment her breath came fast and hard enough to make her dizzy. She was outside the dry cleaners. She could go into the dry cleaners. But she had nothing to drop off and nothing to collect, and the shop was empty, and the man who worked in the dry cleaners was standing there looking bored. As she mulled this over, she realized it was too late. Tom had seen her. She watched his face switch from blank unawareness to uncomfortable awareness in the space of a split second. She tried to do things with her own features to make the situation better, but failed, utterly. And then something extraordinary happened. Tom Fitzwilliam smiled. "Josephine," he said, reminding Joey of her pathetic, drunken attempts at sophistication. "How are you?" It was said with the emphasis on you, which suggested genuine interest in her well-being, not on the R, which would have suggested concern or sympathy. "How are you after the last time I saw you when you grabbed my groin outside a pub and I had to take you home shit-faced in a taxi?" "Oh, hi," she replied, managing to sound vaguely breezy. "I'm good, thank you. I'm good. And God, I am so sorry." He He had a hand up before she even got to the second syllable of the word. Please, he said. We've all been there. Okay, that was kind of good. And you'll notice there are a couple of stylistic gambles that the author's taking. By stylistic gamble in the 21st century, I mean anything that shows any kind of individual style at all. Where instead of just sanded down 6 ways from Sunday so that it neither amuses nor offends anyone. Notice, where was it? That second paragraph. She was outside the dry cleaners. She could go into the dry cleaners, but she had nothing to drop off and nothing to collect, and the shop was empty, and the man who worked in the dry cleaners was standing there looking bored. Dry cleaners, dry cleaners, dry cleaners. It's a kind of a the cadence of the prose keeps going back and back and back to snag on little details, which is a good reflection of Joey's panicked mind right at that moment, when she's seeing the last person on earth that she wants to see. I kind of like that. And the linguistic analysis, that quick look at, what is conveyed by the different ways of saying, how are you? I like that too. So that's good. That bodes well for December the 26th of this year. That's good. All right, let's move on here. See this next one. The bean is completely absorbed in her treat, so you may not see her in this video. And of course that means that you won't be interested in the video at all, since this is the Frida Bean Show with occasional guest star Steve. Eyes on the prize, okay? I'm the cute one. Anyway. Oh, alright. Okay, good. This is a finished copy of something we saw on this channel before, I believe. I think this is a paperback original. Yes, no, maybe so. It's a very, very pretty thing. Yes, it is a paperback original. This is Perumal Murugan. This is One Part Woman. And it's in this a very nice decollage trade paperback with the French flaps, and the price, no $0.99, no $0.95 Falderall, just $16. It's $16. It's way too much money. This is $5, but even so, I like it. It's reserved, and all books should come out this way. Imagine what your book buying habits, your new book buying habits, would be like if every book came out this way. The decollages, the French flaps, the good solid binding, attractive cover design, and a simple no-nonsense price. Too much money for a paperback like this, but still. What if every new book was $15 and came out like this? God almighty. It's not just your book buying budget that would go to heck in a handbasket. Mine would as well. But anyway, let's see what we have here. This is from Grove Atlantic. Terrific people. And this comes out in early October. I'm just expecting that. My October shelf is a nightmare. A nightmare. We are approaching the end of September. It is now time for me to deal with the September shelf, come to terms with the fact that of all the ones I'm not going to review, and start to look about moving the October books up. Moving the September books out and moving the October books up. And it's the sheer amount of books for October is just, I'll take a picture. I'll post a picture on my Instagram so you can all see it. All of you who subscribe to me on Instagram, that is. Which is not all of you. I can't help but notice. Anywho. Perumal Murugan's One Part Woman has become a cult phenomenon, selling over 100,000 copies in India. Oh, how good. What great news. Oh, good for you. There is our author. He's the star of contemporary Tamil literature. He has written 10 novels and 5 collections each of short stories and poetry. And this is his best-known novel. Incredible. And this is translated by Anuruddhan Vasudevan, who is currently a graduate student at the University of Texas at Austin, where yours truly once taught. This was originally published in Tamil, and then in a celebrated Indian translation. This critically lauded novel has captivated Indian readers and jump-started conversations about female empowerment. After experiencing harsh backlash from leaders in his home state of Tamil Nadu and censorship from his frank depictions of small-town life, the author won a landmark court case defending the rights of artists. This is set in South India during the British colonial period, but with powerful resonance in the present day. And it tells the story of a couple, Kali and Pona, who are unable to conceive, much to the concern of their families, and the crowing amusement of Kali's male friends. They try anything to have a child, including making offerings at different temples, atoning for past misdeeds of dead family members, and even circumambulating the mountain supposed to be a cure for barren women, all to no avail. A more radical plan is required, and the annual chariot festival, a celebration of the god Madhurubagan, who is one part woman, one part man, may provide the answer. On the 18th night of the festival, the festivities culminate in a carnival, and on that night the rules of marriage are relaxed and consensual sex between unmarried men and women is overlooked, for all men are considered gods. The festival may be the solution that Kali and Pona have looked for, but it soon threatens to drive the couple apart as much as to bring them together, one would assume. My. Okay, well, I've had the advanced copy of this, and I have not got to it. And I need to change that. So this is wow, a Tamil publishing sensation. Incredible. I tell you, the variety in this world of books. I don't know how people who don't know books live without it. I really don't. So let's see. Let's go on to this. Oh, Bean, are you done with your treat? Everybody wants to see you. They want to see you a lot more than they want to see me. She's done with her treat. I think she might be ready to jump for the stars. Let's see if you are. Are you ready to jump for the stars? There, all's right now on the channel. Oh, God help us. Oh, God help us. Okay. All right, this comes out in December. From the great folks at Pegasus Books. They're not trying to torment me. They're wonderful. Oh, God. Okay. This is by Susan Jacques, and it is The Caesar of Paris. The Caesar of Paris. It is a big fat book about Napoleon Bonaparte. So let's see. Napoleon is one of history's most fascinating figures. But his complex relationship with Rome, both with antiquity and with his contemporary conflicts with the Pope and the Holy See, have undergone little examination. I know you have a job to do. I know you have to write a pub sheet. That is not true. There is not a single aspect of Bonaparte's life, reputation, or history that has undergone comparatively little examination. Not one single aspect. Nothing. Not one, including the man's hair. The man's hair has generated hundreds of books. There isn't a single thing. Just say that you're going to concentrate on it anew. You don't have to say that you're filling in a blank in the life of Napoleon Bonaparte. In The Caesar of Paris, Susan Jacques reveals how Napoleon's dueling fascination and rivalry informed his effort to turn Paris into the new Rome, Europe's cultural capital. Through architectural and artistic commissions around the city. His initiatives and his aggressive pursuit of classical treasures from Italy gave Paris much of the classical beauty we know and adore today. Napoleon had a tradition of appropriating from past military greats to legitimize his reign. Alexander the Great during his invasion of Egypt, Charlemagne during his coronation as emperor, and even Frederick the Great when he occupied Berlin. But it was ancient Rome and the Caesars that held the most artistic and political influence and would remain his lodestars. Interwoven throughout the narrative is the life of Julius Caesar, alongside a vivid examination of the cultural and artistic initiatives in both Caesar's Rome and Napoleon's France. Oh, for God's sake. So it's not enough that I have to deal with the pestiferous little Corsican for 800 pages. I now also have to deal with Julius Caesar. Throw in George Washington. It's a Steve trifecta. So this comes out in early December. I will be getting to this sooner than early December, because in early December I will be in the final stages of my the aforementioned raucous year-end roundup. But I can't ignore this. It could be serious for the history category. So, so this is This is the Caesar of Paris. Okay, you'd think a big fat biography would make Steve happy, but it could be anybody but this guy. Helmholtz. I still have Helmholtz to crow about. Let's see, what's next here? Whoa! Whoa! What's that, baby? Oh! What's that? Oh! Alright, let's see what we have here. We are now in novel territory. We've gone back to novels. Oh, wow, okay, this is going to be another paperback original, another $16 paperback original. Fantastic. This is from the folks at Black Cat, which is Grove Atlantic. And this is Last Night in Nook. And the author is, God help us all, Niviak Corneliusson. Niviak Corneliusson. Niviak Corneliusson disrupted Greenland's literary scene when she published her debut novel, which is this. Son of a gun. So we have a disruptive Tamil literary success, and now a Greenland literary success. In 2014, after winning a prestigious short story prize. In its Greenlandic and Danish editions alone, the book sold 2,000 copies. Okay. Incredible. We have a very international flavor going on here. Although, I guess the huge difference in number between 2,000 and what was your success story? Your success story was ever so much greater. 100,000 copies is just a reflection of the difference in populations, right, between India and Greenland. I imagine most people don't sell 2,000 copies in Greenland. Double the number required to become a bestseller. No, okay, so they don't. All right. The author was profiled in NewYorker.com last year as Greenland's unlikely literary star, having written an acclaimed novel with an audience beyond the island before turning 30. This novel is not the traditional Greenlandic pastoral. There are no idyllic scenes of Greenlanders dog sledding out of the northern lights or trekking across glaciers. I confess, those were the first things that came to my mind. She wrote as far as she could in the opposite direction, toward the capital city of Nuuk, where her characters go out, stumble home, and grow into the people they were meant to be. Through stream of consciousness, emails, text messages, and journal entries, Corneliusson brilliantly weaves together the story of 5 distinct characters. Fia, who's gone off sausage, meaning man. Her brother Inuk, in a secret affair with a powerful married man. All I want to know is that really a phrase in use in Greenland? That when you're sick of men, you've gone off sausage? Isn't that terrible? That's all I want to know now. Is that actually a phrase in use? Anyway, getting back to our quintet of characters. Evik, a lesbian confronting an important transition, and a troubled young woman, Arnak, who forces them all to face their fears. With a boldly honest style and unconventional prose, the author vividly depicts being young and queer in Greenland. How fascinating. Oh my. And a newspaper in Denmark celebrated the book for creating its own genre. Which is not something you hear every day. That's fascinating. Okay, so this comes out in mid-January next year. I confess I'm really curious to jump right into it. I won't be doing that. I'm not reading any 2019 books in 2018, but boy, that sounded intriguing. Good Lord, what a varied little mail haul is this. All right, now we have a big envelope here, but this ends in a box. I was about to say this mail haul has one box at the end, which I'm assuming is a huge box of vintage science fiction and fantasy from Mark at Richardson Reads. He sent me one last time we did a mail haul. I'm assuming there's another one. I'm assuming that's what that box is. Don't you think, Bean? Let's see here. What is this? Oh, God. It's him again. Okay. All right. This is by Bradley Hart. This has got to come out soon. This is probably an October book. It is an October book. Good help us. This is Hitler's American Friends. The Third Reich's supporters in the United States. And there you have a picture of an American rally with the American flag next to the swastika. Which it'd be great if that were, a historical curiosity, and you looked at that cover and thought, boy, wasn't the past a wacky place? But the swastika was seen next to the Confederate flag and the American flag in an American city in the South last year. And the Nazis who waved that swastika killed someone on the streets of America last year. Let's see here. Well, what kind of a description have we got of this thing? I think I have an advanced copy of this. I haven't looked at it. On a September night in Iowa, oh no, oh no. On a September night in Iowa, the celebrity outsider turned campaign flamethrower stood in front of thousands and talked about America first and the encroaching others who were going to make America a little less American. But this wasn't Donald Trump talking about Mexicans, Muslims, or refugees. It was 1941, 2 months before Pearl Harbor, and Charles Lindbergh was talking about Jews. In this book, the author details just how deeply rooted in America the Nazi Party was, how sympathetic millions of Americans were to Germany, and how close many of their plans to affect the outcome of the war and America's intervention in it came to succeeding. Hooey, okay. This will be tough to read. This will be very, very tough to read. Would have been tough to read anyway, as just a dark chapter in American history, but it's not a dark chapter in American history anymore. It's also an active element of the present-day America, where a United States president can look at a crowd waving swastika flags and chanting, "Jews will not replace us," and say there were many fine people in that assemblage, and refuse to condemn them. And refuse to condemn them, so that a year later, his predecessor in office can get up in front of a crowd and say, "How hard can it be to condemn the Nazis?" This would have been tough to read a year ago, 2 years ago. Now it's going to be even tougher to read, but I'm not going to let anything in October go by. So, and then we get to the box. We have a box, and then we're done. Let's see here. So a box is good. Could be a finished copy of something. That would be nice. What do we got here? I haven't yet figured out what her limit is for how long she can stand on her two hind legs. She appears not to have any trouble doing it. So I have never tested. I haven't tested yet to see how long she can do that. It's weird to see. I must admit, it's weird to see. Because for the last 16 years, I had a pointer who had very gamey hind legs. She was a pretty athletic dog when she was younger, but for the last 5 years of her life, her hind legs would not have supported her weight, and she would not have tried to get up on them. And also, I had a basset hound who never got up on her hind legs, ever. So this is weird to have a dancing dog like this. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, this is Dr. Stoker and J.D. Barker. This is the finished copy of Dracula. Very nice-looking finished copy of Big. The publisher is going flat out for this thing in October. So this is another October book. And I think we saw it on this channel before, but let's go through it for the hundreds of people here now who weren't here then. Because if I remember correctly, I mean, this is the Stoker estate. This is authorized. This is you've got the great grandnephew or whatever that Dr. Stoker is. You've got him and a very capable sort of co-writer turning out this thing just in time for Halloween. But if I remember correctly, the setup for this novel was a howling knee slapper. So let's see. When Bram Stoker first submitted Dracula to his UK publisher in 1897. Bean, you're making an awful lot of noise. There we go. He included a preface warning readers that the events here described really took place. However, in the wake of Jack the Ripper's reign of violence, Stoker's publisher feared London could not handle the author's claim that a supernatural beast stalked their streets. They removed the statement from the manuscript along with the first 100 pages. The only original draft of the classic novel, believed still in existence, begins on page 102, and no one alive has seen the original 100 pages. What was in those missing pages? With special access to Stoker's notes, text, and various materials, best-selling authors Dacre Stoker, the great-grandnephew of Bram, and J.D. Barker go back to Dracula's and Bram Stoker's origins in the supernatural suspense novel Dracula, the first prequel authorized by the Stoker estate. And I want you to notice, what's going on in those two paragraphs. Okay? I want you to notice what's going on. There's a little bit of three-card Monty happening, and if you're not paying attention, you won't catch it. We're told that the publisher, first of all, we're told a whole bunch of codswallop. There was no original unknown draft of Dracula. There was no publisher in the world in the wake of Jack the Ripper's murders in Whitechapel in 1888 would think that removing a resemblance to Jack the Ripper or invoking him in any way would help a book. You would want to play that up, not remove it. Publishers aren't any different then than they are today. But notice the sleight of hand that's happening. We're told this codswallop about there being the first 100 pages removed from the original draft of Dracula. And then we're told the original draft of the classic novel, believed still in existence, the only one, begins on page 102, and no one alive has seen the original 100 pages. What was in those missing pages? And then we're told that this book derives from special access to Stoker's notes, texts, and various materials. But it does not say special access to those 100 pages. If you're not paying close attention and you read that, you will think this reveals what's in those 100 pages, when that claim is not being made. So there's all kinds of sleight of hand going on here. First of all, that ridiculous claim that there is some hidden, unknown, unseen by the public Dracula draft. There isn't. That's just the same thing as as pastiche writers saying that they consulted the battered tin dispatch box in which Dr. Watson kept all the unrecorded cases of Sherlock Holmes. That battered tin dispatch box would have to be as big as Grand Central Station now to cover all of the stories that allegedly came out of it. And this is along the same lines. Publishers never tire of this sort of thing. They never tire of it. They never tire of saying, well, some widow will come forward and say, my husband was a best-selling international author, and he was scrupulously hero-worshipped, and his every word was doted upon by his legion of fans. But now, 7 years later, I happen to notice a completed manuscript in the bottom drawer of his desk. I thought I'd give it to the public. Nice try, Widow Crichton, or whoever you end up being. Publishers never tire of this sort of wheeze. I think it's a kind of an in-joke among them, and we're supposed to take it in good humor, and I do. I just don't want anybody fooled by that. This is not any kind of elaboration on an unseen text that precedes the text of Dracula. That's just ridiculous. But also, there's the other part of the sleight of hand is that implication that this book derives from that first 100 pages, when really this isn't that at all. This is the two authors sort of imagining a younger Bram Stoker into the story of Dracula, and sort of leading it from there. So, I don't know. I didn't read the whole. I have the advanced copy, and I'm a big fan of Dracula, so I read a chunk of the advanced copy before I had to go on to other things, and just told myself, when I get the finished copy, I'll read the whole thing. I'll reread the part that I've read, and I'll read the whole thing, and I will do that now. But the chunk that I read probably 120, 130 pages of the advanced copy that I have, and the chunk that I read didn't read like a prequel to Dracula at all. Maybe I'm going to get to that later on in the book, but this says it's the first prequel authorized by the Stoker estate, and I don't really know what that means, but we shall see. Anyway, let's see. We'll go on here. Featuring fictional characters and historical figures, Dracula follows Bram Stoker and his siblings as they hunt a dark and powerful presence from their childhood home in Ireland across Europe to a final confrontation not to be missed. Certain to be a significant publishing event, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. There was... this is not the first time that the Stoker estate has tried this. They did it with a book called The Undead a while ago, and it sat in bookstores. So I don't know, a significant publishing event. I don't know. I'm hoping that a lot of people write about it. I certainly will. The book is already set to hit the big screens. Paramount Pictures has acquired film rights with Anthony Muschietti, who did 2017's It. He did the new adaptation of It, Stephen King. Directing. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all. Bean, no one can hear you over there. Just eat. You don't have to dig. Just eat. I'm perfectly willing to believe that this book was opted as a screenplay, that the opted for a screenplay by Hollywood, but I do not believe that a director is attached, except in the most theoretical terms. But we have bullet points here. Including some questions, would be what Bram Stoker stated in his original preface to the Dracula manuscript, and what our authors learned in their research about the missing 112 pages of the original manuscript. Are they going to stick with that? God bless them. That's wonderful. Who was Bram Stoker, and who were his siblings, and how much about them in Dracula is factual? Why Bram Stoker's Dracula continues to fascinate and terrify readers 120 years after publication, and where fans can go to learn more about Dracula and the man who created him. Okay, all right, so this comes out in early October. I'm all over it because I've been meaning to get back to it. I started the advance copy and just didn't continue with it. Okay, so so wonderful. All right, so we have a very mixed bag. We have Dracula, very handsome looking hardcover. We have Hitler's American Friends, tough reading, also in October. Then the Last Night in Nook, a Greenland publishing sensation. Then The Caesar of Paris, a big fat book about Napoleon Bonaparte and Julius Caesar. Then One Woman Apart, the English language translation of a Tamil bestseller. Isn't that incredible? And Watching You by Lisa Jewell, voyeuristic psychological thriller that nobody's ever going to hear about because it comes out on December 26th. It comes out the day after Christmas. So here's hoping that that the publicity keeps it going into the new year, because it's going to need that. And that's it. That is our mail haul to start the week. I don't even want to think about all the cleaning up I have to do. Why do other people do unboxings and mail hauls? They don't have a little Tasmanian devil tearing things apart in the back. Anyway, I'll wrap this up for now, but I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.